Good morning. The big story of the day, needless to say, is the government Zero survey in Delhi, which shows that 23.5% of the population have right now or in the recent past been affected by the coronavirus. In terms of numbers, that's a massive step up, since right now the number that we have from the testing data that is released every day is that number that we have for the people infected in Delhi is 1.2 lakh people. So suddenly we are going up from a number of 1.2 lakh to as much as 43.4 lakhs, which is based on the new Zero survey. So the question that comes to mind immediately, is this really that big a jump? I mean, a 40-fold hike looks like a big jump, but not really when you strip that number down a bit. Delhi has about 1.2 lakh infected people right now, and it's done about 8.3 lakh tests. So if you divide one by the other, you get about a 15% ratio, which essentially says that if you look at the testing level that's done in India, 15% in Delhi, 15% of people tested in Delhi have turned out to be at one time or the other corona positive. In fact, given the fact that of the recent jump in the testing levels, given that so much of it was done via the rapid antigen test, which seems to miss out a lot of corona positive thing, it is very clear that 15% number was an underestimate. So if the Zero survey, the 23.5% and 43.4 lakh people, if the Zero survey numbers look like a big jump, that's because the Zero survey is a sample, but it represents all of Delhi. Whereas, when you look at the number of testing that we've done, the testing that we've done right now is of about 4% of the population. So the number that we give of 1.2 lakh are based on just testing 4% of the sample, whereas the Zero survey, it's a sample survey which supposedly represents the entire population. So that is why it looks like a big jump here. So how reliable, that is the next question, how reliable is this sample? After all, it is just 21,387 people on a population of about 2 crore there. So that's a very, very tiny sample here. So the normal tendency would be to dismiss the Zero sample, that it's not representative of the population, but that's not true. It doesn't matter how small the sample is, as long as the sample has the characteristics of the population, it doesn't really matter. Keep in mind that exit polls, for example, are based on very small surveys. In fact, India's estimate of poverty, so we estimate poverty for a country of 130 crore people based on a sample of 1 to 2 lakh people, that's all. So sample surveys are by nature, by their very design, they are small. It's a matter of how well they are designed, and we hope that the Zero survey in Delhi was equally well designed here. So the next question is, having got over whether the Zero survey, whether the sample is good enough or not, the next question is this 43.4 lakh number something to be really worried about? Now the answer is obviously yes and no. Firstly, I want to make a little point that this 43.4 lakh doesn't mean that 43.4 lakh people have coronavirus right now. It's like the same, Delhi gives a number of 1.2 lakh people who are affected by corona. That doesn't mean that 1.2 lakh people have corona right now. Most of them have recovered. So similarly, this 43.4 lakh is the number of people who had corona in the past and who have it right now. How many have it right now, the survey doesn't tell us. And essentially the way this survey works is very simple. Whenever there's an infection, we produce certain kind of antibodies to fight that infection. And you can tell, so there's a certain kind of antibody which is produced to fight COVID-19. So what the survey does, it's a blood sample, and it tries to figure out whether people have those antibodies or not. So let's say if somebody contracted corona about a month ago, and this person has recovered from corona, he or she will still have the antibodies in the system. And then if we take a person who contracted corona, let's say a week ago, so this person still has the disease and he also has the antibodies there. So the survey will tell us that 2 people have the antibody. So they either have had corona in the past or they have it right now, but it will not tell us right now whether one person has it right now or whether 2 people have it right now. That's a little problem with these surveys. But to get back to the question, should we worry about the fact that at one point or the other, 43.4 lakh people in Delhi have had the coronavirus? This in fact is a question that we address even in our editorial today. And essentially that the problem area is a simple one. Given that every 4th person in Delhi has the coronavirus, going by the survey, given that every fourth person in Delhi has the coronavirus, as compared to a seventh. So when we looked at the testing data, we got to know that about every 7 people, 1 in 7 people in Delhi had the coronavirus. So given the fact that there are more people who have the coronavirus, obviously the chances of you getting the infection now are greater. So essentially that means you've got to be more careful when you use your face masks, your sanitizers and things like that. But that was the bad news. There's a lot of good news as well. And the good news, the most important part about this is that a lot of the critical ratios that we worry about will come down quite dramatically immediately. So for example, let's take the number of people who've been hospitalized. Now, when you look at the number of people, the 1.2 lakh people that we know that the testing results tell us that have been infected. So when you look at that, you get a hospitalization ratio of about 25%. Means about a fourth of the people who are infected need to be hospitalized. Now that's a very, very big number. It's a number which is quite overwhelming, and it makes it quite clear that the country's health facilities cannot possibly look after cannot possibly cope with those kind of numbers. But when you divide that same number of people who've been hospitalized, when you divide that same number now by 43.4 lakhs instead of 1.2 lakhs, that ratio looks much, much smaller. Similarly, you do the same thing for, let's say, the fatality rates. Now, when you look at the fatality rates based on the number of people that we know to be infected, 1.2 lakhs, when you look at the fatality rates and you look at it in terms of 1.2 lakh people, you get a number which tells you that 3% of all people who get infected die. That's a very, very big number by any stretch of the imagination. Now, what you do is you take the same number of deaths and divide that now not by 1.2 lakhs but by 43.4 lakhs, which is the number that the Sero survey puts out here. Now, when you divide that, you get a fatality rate which is much, much lower. And essentially what this is telling you then is that while the coronavirus is something to worry about, there's a greater chance of being able to contract the coronavirus right now, but the coronavirus is not as virulent or not as powerful actually as we thought it was. So the death rate, for example, as I told you, it was 3% when you look at the normal data that you get from the testing every day. But when you look at the same death numbers and you use the Sero survey, then you get a fatality rate of about 0.08%. That's much lower. So in a sense, that the Sero survey is a source of comfort, but it is also a source of worry from the point of view of the fact that when more people in Delhi are infected, the chances of you being able to get the infection are greater. In fact, we don't have the latest All India Sero survey as yet. The last time the Sero survey was done for All India was data for May. So I suspect, but when the new numbers come in, you will find that number for India going up to at least 4 to 5% for the very simple reason that if the numbers for Delhi are at 25%, unofficial estimates based on private laboratory results in Mumbai give you a number of about the same 15 to 20%. So as the numbers go up for various cities, the overall number for India will go up. We don't know. I guess the survey should be out within the next month or two, but I would suspect that number for India would be more in the region of about 5% or thereabout. Thank you. Have a great day. Bye bye.